Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you're all doing well and staying fresh this January. My name is Douglas Ayeko, and I'm delighted to represent Springboard Capital. At Springboard Capital Limited, we don't just provide capital to fuel your business. We go above and beyond by offering advisory services through our BizSmart Webinars. We believe in supporting our customers' investments through expert guidance. Now, as we're about to start, here's where you can start networking. We'd love to get to know our fantastic audience. In the chat, go ahead and introduce yourself by sharing your name, organization, and the role you play in it. Remember, your network is your net worth. Now, we are about to embark in a thrilling journey today, where we learn how to create a vision board for our business. This hands-on webinar isn't just about crafting a vision board. It's about unlocking the untapped potential within yourself and your business. We will uncover the transformative potential of visualizing your business trajectory, and indeed, you will witness firsthand the profound impact you can have on your success. Think of it as creating a roadmap to your entrepreneurial goals and dreams. Now, at this juncture, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our speaker of the day, Wahiga Gichinga. She has 9 years experience as a certified coach, trainer, and speaker with the John Maxwell team. She provides professional, personal, and group coaching and training designed to help leaders maximize their strengths and improve their effectiveness. Not only does she hold an MBA in strategic management, but also is a certified accountant. She previously worked as an accountant for 13 years in different capacities in KTDA, Aga Khan University Hospital, and Nairobi Hospital, where she was part of the strategy team. These experiences contribute highly to her helping individuals and organizations achieve their goals. Wahiga enjoys supporting leaders in building high-performance teams, working on their leadership development and executing their goals. She supports new managers taking on leadership roles on self-leadership, aiding them to own their business, their leadership journey, and is also passionate about coaching people to craft their voice and be confident public speakers. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn how to set a clear visual course for business growth in the dynamic landscape of 2024 and beyond. At this juncture, Wahiga, the virtual space is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Douglas, and thank you for the kind words. Good afternoon, Spring Capital community. I am happy to be here today to have a conversation around success. And as I set myself up, I want us to visualize, what is success? What do you think success is? I want us to imagine a business that we know that is successful. I want us to think about it. What is it that strikes us about that business? What is it that you like if you're a customer? What do you like, your product or your service? Well, how do you connect with them? What do you think about the people who work for such successful companies? If you are their customer, how well do they meet your need? Who do you think associates with that kind of business? What cadre of employees do you think they have? If you happen to be in the same marketplace with this kind of business, what do you think would be their negotiation power? And what do you think drove them to success? I'm happy to be here. I know you have a business in mind, a business you think is successful and you can identify with. But my question is, after identifying that business, do you think they have that success by chance? That is a question we shall be having today on why do businesses succeed. I know everybody loves success. I don't know why you started your business. I know why I started mine. It's to be successful. It is unlikely that anyone would want to start a business to actually fail. But what is this thing we call success? How can you quantify it? And today, I want us to go through how success begins, how the journey is for success. Success is a product of a vision coupled with a well-formulated strategy and great execution. And today we may not be able to handle everything in all that part of success, but we'll begin with the starting point of success, which is a vision. And our conversation today is around how to create your 2024 business vision. I have been introduced by Douglas, so I think I don't need to go through that. And we go directly to asking ourselves, what is a vision? And to me, a vision is the big picture. How do you see yourself when you're successful? How do you see yourself when you hit all your goals? What picture comes into mind in your own business? I take it in as a North Star, saying that end product that you see as a business is the direction that you're headed to. What your company hopes to become. That today, you may be selling water to your own village, but in 10 years, you won't be competing with carrying it with Aquamist. And that is a picture you have, meaning you're starting where you are, but you know what you want to become. So there are words that I love that makes me feel that a vision is so important in life. There one by a lady called Lewis Carroll. I know maybe when you were young, you read the book Alice in Wonderland. And she said, if you don't know where you're going, anywhere the car stalls is a potential destination. A great risk to entrepreneurship, a great risk to any business that is not sure about the destination. And as we discuss vision, I want us to look at companies within our world that in one way or another we think are successful or we interact with. And I think I want us to see how do we interact with them and what do we think about them. I've chosen Safaricom because Safaricom, other than marathoners, it's them who have put us on the world map in a good place. And I think we are acknowledged as people who have an expertise in a certain area. And just a brief history about Safaricom. Safaricom started off as a department in Telcom, Kenya. I think that time it was a parastatal called Kenya Post and Telecommunication. Sometime back in 1997, it was incorporated as a private company in 2008 and floated for shares. But what is interesting about Safaricom, that today it's one of the biggest companies in Africa. Well, its mother company, Telcom, is dancing around its deathbed, which beckons me to question, do you think Safaricom's success is by chance? There must be something they're doing right, because it's just the other day. The companies that have been there for years, why have they not bagged the success that Safaricom has bagged so far? And looking at the vision of Safaricom, we can read it through. It is to transform beyond being a telco company to be a purpose-led technology company. It has a vision, a place it is going. And now that it has grown so fast, it leaves us to question how the next frontier of life with the changing world and marketplace, how they will navigate that place and remain successful. Because what I want to bring out today in our conversation, that yes, you may have a great vision. The question is, how can it sustain you beyond the next 20, 40, 50 years? Because reality is, and we have seen it, is that great companies die. So the question is, what are you doing how have you crafted your vision in such a way that you can run with it? And just to mention, because you talked about great companies dying, I know of one company called Kodak. And Kodak, I mean, if you came to Nairobi in the last 20 years or so, we took all manner of photos on top of KICC, Uhuru Park, and any other corner of town. And, we valued those photos. But you know what? A company that was around, hitting the charts for 100 years, died. So it's not by chance. It's not by chance. To sustain ourselves as a business, one has to have their core intact, their core, looking at their core every day to see how they're navigating their world around it. I want us to look at another company that we know that is also one of the pride of Kenyans, and that is Equity. Perhaps for it to make sense, if you say equity and member, it hits home, because that is how this building society was introduced to us a while back. And to look at Equity, Equity started as a building society in 1984, a long time ago. And if you could see in the photo there, it was by farmers, some women who were trying to uplift each other. But today, it has grown to be one of the leading banks in East Africa. In fact, I was checking some details in a company called Statistica. It does research. And I realized that in East Africa, it is the third most valued company. Safaricom top in the list. So that tells you, when you have a vision, it can place you in spaces that others can only dream about. Of course, there are other things that come from the vision, and we shall look at them one by one to see how the vision helps us to remain successful, to remain stable, and to build on our wings so that we are continuously winning, continuously building on what we have. Sometimes back, I was in a conference and I happened to be the only African. And there was a lady sitting next to me who asked me, "What is so good about Kenya?" And for a split second, I was taken aback. I wondered, oh my God. I started looking for information about Kenya. I would sell Kenya. But today, it was a while back. Today, I know that we have good success stories that can come from Kenya. Good stories of success, even with the harsh conditions there are right now that we are trying to cope with. And what I'm saying is there is potential, even from amongst ourselves, to start something, build it right, and take it to the world. And we celebrate because we have other companies that have done it and done it well. And knowing that the potential a vision has for us, I want us to understand those benefits, the impact it has for us if we have our vision right. I'll also want us to look at how to craft it, because it's the make or die. So if you get it right, you're good to go. If you don't get it right, then a few things may get you bouncing around with waves of failure and challenges that come. Sometimes you can outdo, other times they swallow you into their world. So I want us to look at why have a vision. And I think there's something we mentioned about a vision. One, it being a true north. It giving us direction. We mentioned it's a big picture somewhere. And because it is a big picture where you're headed to, then you know the path that you need to take. You know what you need to do. You know what you need to create. Something else I want to talk about a vision is it being giving us purpose as a business. Your individual business, you can't work on it alone. You have people working with you. And the question is, why should they work with you? And one thing I realized that people don't work with you because of you. People work with you because of them. And the question is, when they come to you, how do they see themselves in your business? How do they see their growth? How do they create their own meaning in life through your business? So if you have a very good vision, they can connect where they're going with where you're going and see where they plug in. And that way, you can bring out engagement from your team members. You can attract the right people so that you don't have people working for you because they have nowhere else to go. We have people who are going somewhere and they see a potential of going it with you, and you form such a team to go where you need to go. The next thing is strategy, because it's from a vision that we plan. From a vision, we develop goals, both short-term and long-term goals. And because we don't execute the vision, we execute the goals. And if there's no planning around the goals, there will be mayhem. I would imagine the competing needs. I would imagine the different departments within an organization, within a business setup. The many people who need, everybody's fighting for their front. Every department wants to shine. So if you have no strategy, you have mayhem. And why you have a strategy is to understand who is the strongest, who is the weakest, who can sell us the most, who is just sustaining us, who should we fund the most, who can wait for another 5 years. So strategy is very important. And part of strategy also is things like processes. You realize that it is in processes that you serve your customers. And so if you're not sure about your processes, then this is where you lose your market. And this would only become relevant to you if you have a vision. There is part of a vision that is the core values of the organization. And when you have the core values of the organization in place, then you will make processes that will not only serve the common objective, but meet the value that you want the customer to experience. When I talk about this, I would imagine something about efficiency, for example, and productivity. I don't know whether you have going to pay a power bill at KPLC and been in a process, in a long line, and after that, a minute, when you get to the front, you're sent to another. And you don't feel sad. I don't know whether you feel served by such circumstances because you don't feel like you were thought out about. Today, when I visit them, I see they have designed different posters telling you where to go when, for what service you need. That way, they are serving the customer. Some time back, I worked for a hospital, and I remember part of conversations around the hospital was, how can we ensure that the patient is not spending time walking around the hospital looking for the next service? How can we ensure that they spend the minimum time possible on the floor of the hospital unless they need specialized service? And I think that is a question that I would pose to each one of us in our own businesses. But that can only become possible, that can only become real if we look at our vision, check what is it that we are serving. And for example, I would give an example here. For example, if you're selling shoes, let me say like Bata, or you could be anybody else. I don't know who else is here. You could be selling shoes, call them Modoni shoes or Tienos shoes, and you're selling them there. The question would be, why are you selling those shoes? Are you selling them for comfort? Are you selling them for style? Are you selling them for protection? Because if you decide why you're selling them, which you shall put in your vision, it determines who you're serving. For example, if you're serving style, then you're thinking, this is the high-end market because they will not mind about cost. If I'm serving protection, then that means I may be looking at manufacturing sector, the industrial sector, where people need safety and they need to have shoes that give them safety. So I want you to look at it that way. So that what will you do? How will you serve that customer well? It begins with your vision. Who are you serving? And we shall look at how to ask ourselves those questions so that we have it right. The next thing is priorities. When you have a vision, it's easier to prioritize things because, like I said earlier, many things will be competing for attention. A lot of things will want to be done. People want to shine. I know that you work with a high performance team. When you work with a high performance team, you realize that everybody is edging. Everybody wants to shine. So everybody is fighting to have the resources. Everybody is fighting to have the best staff. Everybody is fighting to get the first chance, if there is capital, to have them equipped. So the question is, who goes first? If I could give an example of even Safaricom itself, you realize that one of their services is M-Pesa. And M-Pesa it was not the first baby, but when it showed up, it has managed to earn them at least half their earnings. Meaning, it succeeded so well. The person who planned allowed M-Pesa, the short-term and long-term goals, I think it's one of the strategies that is a win-win for Safaricom. So you can imagine there are other services like data and calling. And what I would imagine is, for example, if a server is broken or one of the servers needs to be replaced, who gets priority? You get. So those things will come into play, but only if you know what your vision is. Because like I realized that the vision of Safaricom is not just technology, it's to create purpose to the community. And so that way, they see how are they serving that community well. And so priorities will come into place. And then because of your vision, you will decide who will you partner with, who will you associate with based on your values, based on your ideals. Because I would imagine, I saw a comment, I think it's last week, when Ahmed Nasir was barred from going to the courts. And of course, he's one of the people we look at in the legal world as a person who is likely to give you proper direction or help you process a few things. So you can imagine if it was your key person, of course, you're back to the drawing board. Anybody else who is associating with you will also check if this is your caliber of people, then how should I take you? So depending on what you decide, your vision is, what your key values are, you will determine who can I associate with or who can I not. Also, the issue is who will make my product better, who will compromise on my quality, for example. So that determines who you have. There are issues like tracking performance, because if your True North was getting to Mombasa, the question is, if you check after 5 years and you get yourself in somewhere in Machakos, then you perhaps are on the right direction. But if you find yourself in Nyeri, then you know you missed a space somewhere. You got off track and you need to come back to track. So a vision is very good. It helps you keep sober. It helps you keep in the journey so that you keep moving towards your desired direction. Something else about a vision that perhaps I've mentioned is the ability to help you allocate resources. You realize that resources are the lifeline of an organization. And one thing about resources is that they are limited. And because they are limited in nature, decisions have to be made every so often of who gets what. And when I talk about resources, there are many types of resources. It could be personnel, it could be money, it could be capital, it could be associates, it could be partners, depending on what you bring in, the enablers of business. And because that needs to be considered because the resources are few, then when you have the vision intact, the question is, which service, which product is selling us to our market? Which one is helping us meet our objective? So allocation of resources is dependent on such things. Something else is decision making, because you'll find that as much as you have a vision, you can't wish yourself out of a conflict. You can't wish yourself out of challenges. You can't wish yourself out of competing needs. And again, when you're sure about the compass, then you can know how to take care of competing needs. When you have challenges, then you can make objective decisions, not one based on emotion. You can realize this is a tough road, but because it takes us towards a desired destination, we are on it, however painful it is. Something else I say that I like in a vision is the core values. Because when you have the core values in place, things like conflict are easy to resolve because we know where we stand in terms of values. We know who is compromising. We know who has misunderstood a certain premise of the vision, and we can correct them and bring them back to the path. And when I mentioned about challenges, I mentioned about distractions. I mentioned about success. And one thing that is common to the three is that they take us out of our comfort zone. They either take us to cloud nine where we are so excited, or we drop dead, battery dead, no energy to continue tomorrow. And one thing about challenges, of course, they drain us. You're wondering, that guy again, I would imagine, for example, if you are selling water and then your neighbor decided to whatever happened, and then it has broken and mixed out with your water line. That is a mess. That is a mess. Compromising on many things on your world. The question is, do you close your water company? Do you let the leader, your neighbors, charities, wipe you off your intentions, wipe you off of your big picture? Or do you face your neighbor and fix the mess? And where he needs to pay for damages, he can pay. So charities will always be there, not only with the neighbor, even with ourselves. Sometimes we'll find that the vision is bigger than our capacity. We will find that the team we have cannot be able to meet the quality standard, perhaps of technology that we need to serve the people. We perhaps, for us to maintain a stable flow, and I am going back to Safaricom every so often because it's a service we use and we can analyze. And so I would imagine when the M-Pesa service is down, how much business is locked. So the question is, how do you handle challenges? And you see the question of the cost, I have to fly in an engineer or somebody else from South Africa to fix this problem, or we can try with Otieno or Joroge, we can try with him and see if it works. And you see those decisions, the cost may be quite different, but the question is, how can you afford a downtime with M-Pesa, and how long? So you will find that with challenges, you will need to focus on the big picture. When you focus on the big picture, there are choices even of resources that you will make that perhaps will be penalizing, but will be making you maintain your commitment to your market, to your customer. Something else are distractions. I know we are living in a world where the in thing is a thing, the trading thing, and sometimes these distractions can take us off our world. You are a business owner, but it can't take you out from normal living, and if your boys club are buying Mercedes G-Wagon, there's a temptation to go that route. The question is, how does that affect your business? It's very interesting that today, people are putting billboards to announce baby showers. It's crazy. It's mathematics, perhaps, that even my mother cannot reconcile. How do people not value money, to her? But it's a new line of business that is booming. And the question is, with the pressure on that world, how do you maintain your business? And something else that I want to talk about here is the success. You can hit your goal. You can say, I wanted to be the best company in Kenya, the best company in East Africa. I'm there. What next? Success can also be a distraction in the next life that a company takes, the next cycle of life, because you sleep a little bit like this and you can go down. Your competitor is not sleeping, getting ahead of themselves every day. So the question is, how do you deal with success in such a way that it is not a distraction to you and the company? How do you plan yourself to outlive your various mountaintops, your various success levels, so that each time you're building for the next cycle, each time you're building for the next cycle. And for that, the vision helps you to maintain focus. Looking at your teams, looking at the people who are working for you to make you succeed. One of the things that they share that makes them want to work for you is a shared energy, is a realizing that, yes, I have a challenge, but if I'm doing it with X, it's worth the sweat. If I'm doing it with W, let's get over it. Let's stick with it, So it's the motivation that comes with the teams you build in your organization, because when you build good teams, high professional teams, then the challenge is never a challenge. The question is, how do we get over it and make the best out of it? So there's the motivation that comes when you have a vision that is quite challenging, that people can connect to, and develop proper strategies. Then business becomes easier to manage. So I'm hoping that with this conversation, that I have asked you why you will need to have a vision. And perhaps we can look at what happens if you don't have a vision. What happens? Can you imagine if you don't have a vision and you have a business with different departments? Every manager is an authority and they have a justification why things need to happen their way. Are you moving in the same direction? Who would you give resources? The one who is likely to resign, or the one who is appealing to you the most? So the question moves from the business to personalities to individuals. But when you have an outriding vision, then it guides everyone, and everyone takes their space within the vision and the big picture of the company. So that decision making is not made by the fact that this is the wife of the CEO. It's made from, yes, she is the wife of the CEO, but the question is, how does her decision affect the big picture? So that we don't allow people we loved. And you see, one thing about a good vision is we don't also allow people who have been so successful in our world, so good employees, then spoil our tomorrow. We can whip them to order. We can whip them to grow. We can whip them and modify them to the next cycle of success. Why? We are looking at them not as individuals. We are looking at them with the big picture in mind. So I wouldn't imagine the opportunity cost of a vision. So I think a vision is necessary for every business there is in this world, in this Kenya. So I want us to look at the elements of a good vision so that if you have one, you can check if it's within those limits or ideas. And if you don't have one, I would urge you that you move out there and create a compelling vision for your business. And I don't have answers to this one. I think this one I have questions to you so that you think through them and see what best serves you, depending on the sector you're in, the industry you are in, who you are serving, the need you want to serve. And sometimes when I talk about a vision, it also what connects with you deeply. Because it is, let me tell you, if something doesn't connect with you, you will get tired by the 5th year. You will get tired in the 20th year. So how does it survive? So when you're coming up with a vision, see how does it connect with you. So let's look at what is important when coming up with a vision. And one is, what does the organization want to become? Where is it headed? I think that is very important, and we have discussed it. Then why does the business exist? What do you want to achieve in serving your customers? And if I could go back to the shoes business that I had mentioned earlier, the question is it protection? Is it style? Is it comfort? So this needs to be very clear so that you're not just selling shoes. To who? If you're just selling shoes, it's a little bit ambiguous, and you open room for interpretation that sometimes can get out of hand and move you out of your core business. So that needs to be very, very clear. Yes, I'm selling clothes. Which ones? Suits for people in the office, gym clothes, children clothes. Which clothes am I serving? What do I want? What need do I want to meet? So then you need to identify who are your customers, what are their needs you want to serve, what is your product or service, you need to name it, and what are your company core values. I think this is so important. A lot of companies go down because of core values. They find themselves slapped with bills because of compromise that wipes out their profit for 20 or 30 years. And the question is, what core values do you stand by that you want to stick to so that you don't open yourself to such challenges in the future? So core values are so important for you. It's a promise that you give to your customer also. When you tell me, for example, that I go to KPLC and you tell me we are cautious about your time, and I'll feel quite appreciated that we will get out in the next 2 minutes, for example, as a promise at the door. I'll feel quite appreciated because my core business of life is not to queue at KPLC, for example. So is your business. So how do you tie your core value with the promise you give to your customer in such a way that they feel, I want to be part of your business? So is it quality? Is it the efficiency? What is it? What are your core values? So, part of our presentation, where I want to talk about qualities of a good vision. And I begin with saying it needs to be concise. And I'm saying it needs to be concise when I have just highlighted a few things there. There are so many that one needs to consider when talking about them. And yes, and what you're saying is consider all these things, then highly summarize, because a vision statement can be a whole page. 1 to 2 sentences that best describe you with all those other factors that we have figured out and talked about, and you can be able to pull them through your vision. I think it will be important, but at the end of it, let it be concise. The second element of a good vision is clarity. And why I say clarity is important is because you leave no room for misinterpretation. A lot of conflicts in the offices come because of misinterpretation. And when there's misinterpretation of your vision, then sometimes it takes a lot of effort, because there are people involved in it who have different stands on what side they hold and why they hold a certain view of what the company should be doing. And you don't want to give room for that. You want your vision to be so clear that it is easy to understand and you can communicate it to members of your world in such a way that they can keep referencing to it. That when we have decisions to make and we have reached a dead end, because it is so clear, we can pull it in and make a decision. Because it's so clear and we have a conflict, we can pull it in and whip certain members of the organization to order, or grow others to be able to do what they need to be. Something else about a vision, it should be challenging enough. And when I talk about challenging enough, it's the issue of how engaging is it? Is it worth my sweat? I don't know. Okay, when you have lazy people in your team, then they want something they can deal with, and they can go to social media at 3 o'clock and the day is over. But when you have people who want to also build their world, they are so enthralled by something challenging to their mind, something challenging to their capacity. It engages them because they want to win with it. So that's another thing that is very important, to having a vision that is challenging not only to yourself, but to people in the business, so that they are engaged and want to show up and do the best for you. And last but not least, on the vision is it should be future focused. It's about the future. The mission is what deals about with today. The vision deals with the future. Great. Now we know what a vision board is, what a vision is, sorry. We know why it is important. We have discussed how you can craft it. The question is, how do you keep it top of mind? How do you ensure it's ringing on everybody's mind? Of course, you need to communicate it. Of course, you need to ensure that people have understood it. So repetition of the vision is important. Maybe that's the reason why we have visions printed on almost all documents that you get to see, is to ensure that everybody is thinking about it, is seeing it, and can refer to it as easily as possible. And one of the ways to ensure that it sticks is to have a vision board. A vision board is a visual board. It can be your computer and make a screen. I think technology has made life very easy. Or you can take a blank a board on your wall. Yeah. And what I would say a vision board is, it's a collage of pictures, of photos, of cutouts from magazines, of quotes from people that inspire you, of symbols that perhaps speak to your strength and courage, of what else would I say is, yes, so and things like sentimentals, if, for example, you're operating a tour company and you get to Paris and perhaps get something that you feel, I have let everybody know I was in Paris, you can put it on your vision board so that you tell people, we know what, We are moving from this place to the whole world. So when you have one part of it put on your vision board, it reminds you it's doable. It reminds you I have already conquered this particular goal that I was aiming to, that allows you to feel energized, to roll towards your goals, to roll towards the remaining part of your dream to make it come true. So that's what a vision board is. It can be as clumsy as or as beautiful depending on who you are. It works best when it's visual, and that's because then you can put things you can connect with, things you can relate to. Now thinking that I am here, and of course I think there are a few things I forgot. For guys, they maybe when success means I am driving a Ferrari, and so perhaps I should have put a Ferrari here to ride with. Maybe it means going for a game in Stamford Bridge, and I would put it here, meaning that when I'm 90% of the journey, I am funding my trip to Stamford Bridge, for example. And of course, ladies, okay, but nowadays ladies also follow football. Interestingly, I think life is really changing. But I would think that they want to go for a shopping spree to South Africa as a take holiday, for example, or tour Europe, and make something out of it. So those small things that speak to you, those small things that encourage you to work hard. So put symbols of them, put pictures of them on your vision board. So if you're putting it on the wall, you can just pin it to the wall. If it's on your computer, then a bit of graphic design, and I think you can fix it and make it really, really work for you. So I have put a list of what you would need to put on your vision boards, or what you can start with and you can keep building on. And yes, like I have said, pictures, cutouts from magazines, quotes that are aligned with your vision, items with sentimental value, affirmation, symbols. And so those are things that help you, they call out, it's an emotional thing, by the way, because they call out your courage, they call out your motivation, they call out your inspiration on why you need to get to the finishing line. And you could wonder, must I have it? Yeah. Must I be with it? Well, it is not mandatory. We have different ways of looking at it, but I look at the benefit of having it, especially if you're a visual person. There are people who are feelers. There are people who do other things. Like for me, I like to reflect around my goals. I do a lot of reflections, and so that way, feeling through them and writing down for me is what works. So it depends with you, but I think it is very important, and I will tell you why I think it is important to have it in front of you, especially if you're a visual person, because time will show up when you're encouraged. Times will show up when you feel blank. I don't know I'm the only one who wake up one day and you feel blank. You're thinking, was today part of yesterday or tomorrow? You think, oh no, the energy is not right for me today. And if you have the vision board in front of you, the reason why you need to wake up just comes back to you in a snap like this, and you want to go. And if your spouse was just about to have a baby shower, and you thought perhaps you wanted to put a billboard, and then you realize that you haven't serviced the cars for department X, then you realize then the priorities are not right here. I have a way of dealing with my personal issues. I know how to deal with things that are in front of me, and I'm looking at it from a perspective of I'm appreciating that we have a lot of businesses maybe where they're not companies yet. So they're not, the resources and operations are not separated from the owner. And I think that's where a lot of discipline is required, so that you don't eat up your capital, you don't go on trade at the expense of your business and take in less than you should have. But even though you are there's a way of setting standards, there's a way of doing things that allows you not to hold on to that baby card or that vision to fruition without compromising it for what is happening, for the noise in the outside world, in your world. So when I look at the vision board, the benefits to visualize success, to be able to think through what you will achieve, create momentum, share your resources, have your priorities right, and create motivation. and a few questions to help you go through your vision board, and so that you put up one. It's important to put up one. By the way, I have things I have stuck on my walls that remind me of where I want to go. So even as much as I'm a feeler person, I'm a person who reflects more. So the question is, how do you put it up there? And begins with you having your vision statement and how success looks like. Yeah, what inspires you? How will you celebrate? What companies would you want to associate with? I think this one is very important and I want to highlight. If you feel that I'm working now and next time I want to be a partner with Nairobi Bottlers, to me, Nairobi Bottlers has certain standards that I need to meet for them to trust me to do business with them. The question is, how do I build to that capacity so that they feel safe enough to work with me? So those things are important. And you can put a picture of Nairobi Bottlers on your vision board to remind you of the standards that you need to meet. So that's just an example. And there are many others there, the milestones you've accomplished so far. And yes, beautiful things, beautiful photos that you have had. And yes, it will be great to have them on the vision board and help you remind you of the big picture, where you're headed, and what to wish you other than a safe journey after crafting a vision to your destination. Thank you, and I'm happy for you listening to me. And I had this moment back to Douglas Ayeko.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, Wahiga. That was quite a handful of knowledge you shared with us. Now, in the chat box, we have quite of action going on. We have questions from our audience, and I'll read them out to you. The first question from Richard: how can a vision board adapt and stay relevant in the face of unpredictable market shifts and technological advancements? Now, the second one from Jacqueline Mweni: are there any tools or resources available to assist entrepreneurs in creating and maintaining their business vision boards effectively? The other one from Anastasia: how to ensure vision is cascaded and brought by everyone responsible to deliver where the business is not a sole proprietor? So those are the first three questions. You may react to them before we go to the next batch.
All right. Yes, great questions here, and I like it because we had just talked about how a business remains a going concern. A going concern is an accounting term. How a business remains relevant, remains successful beyond a cycle, and I think that's a good question. And the question is, I think, is having relevant conversations around strategy. I think if you're in a strategy team and you invite ideas, because then when you're in the strategy team, you look at what is 5 years, what is 20 years, what are the emerging markets, what services are we rendering that will become irrelevant in the next 3 or 4 years. And so those things will be aired. People will offer solutions on what is possible on them. And I think the question here is continuously holding on, planning and strategic management on your vision. Yes, as regular as possible. I think strategy is key. It is so important, but we make it like a back service to an organization, but it's so necessary because if Kodak had addressed that, they wouldn't have died after 100 years. So it's so important to even have somebody who handles their strategy, checking at what you're offering, how can it be offered. The same, you see, the question is, it's not just about the service. What is the service doing? Because it's not just about the product. What is the product doing? Meaning the method of serving your clients can change, but the core remains intact. I think that's the what you need to look out there. Then the other things, maintain a vision board, make it personal. When it is one that looks like Michael Joseph, it is not yours. So Michael Joseph can work on it. The question is, if it's mine, is one meant for Wahiga and Wahiga's business, I'll make it relevant to Wahiga. So the question is, if I'm feeling that Wahiga is not fitting in or it doesn't have the bigger picture, who else can I bring on board? Because it is a business. Who can I hire to help me think through this vision? Who can I partner with to help me think through it so that it comes out well? So the other question is, how, if you're a sole proprietor, how yes do you maintain that having a good business and having a vision in it? And I think the question there is just the same: is have people who are even more knowledgeable than you. Actually, one of the things that you can be able to do well is be able to accommodate people who know better than you and help you craft your strategy, help you steer your business, help you interpret it, parts of even your vision in such a way that it remains relevant. Even in the change of technology, in the change of marketplace, the question is, how do we deliver the same vision, though we can change the mode of delivery? I hope I have answered your questions. Jacqueline, I think there was Mwangi, and I can't remember the other person.
Thank you for those reactions. Now, with the interest of time, maybe you can keep it short for the rest of the questions I'll ask you. We have one from Clavia that says, how do you propose creating a business vision board that not only anticipates future trends, but also strategically positions the company to lead and innovate? Then I'll pick a last one because of the interest of time. How can one stay motivated and inspired by their vision boards over the long term? As humans, we tend to forget and get unmotivated when challenges come.
Okay. How do you stay relevant, not just anticipating the future, but be strategic? I think there is still conversations. What I'm liking about the people who are coming up, the generation Z, no, I think there's an alpha generation and others, is thinking outside the box. And I think it's the capacity of the leader of the business today to be able to take in concepts that are not normal for you, that are not obvious, that you may not understand, and be able to understand what they could bring. Who would have said that money could be sent through M-Pesa? If we used to put money in funny spaces to get it to the destinations. It is just an idea formulated into something, and then actually M-Pesa has put Kenya in the world map. So I think it is being able to invite ideas outside the norm. And if you can be able to play around with those ideas until you craft something that can be possible, then it will be possible for you to be able to read the market and innovate well. Stay motivated. Keep changing what you like. Keep changing your reward. Keep improving on your decision making. Keep working on yourself so that at each time you're not at the same capacity. When you have developed your own capacity, you see things differently. And when you see things differently, update your vision board with a new view, not the old or 5 or 10 years ago. Update it with a new view, then be able to see it in another 5, 10 years. And when you have grown, use that knowledge, that new confidence to see anew and keep updating it, and it remains relevant to you. So I hope I have addressed the questions with the time as it is. And yes, thank you, Douglas, and back to you.
Thank you for keeping it short. Now we have quite a bunch of actions going on in the chat box, but because of time, I think you will consider sharing your presentation and of course your contact details. People may want to reach out to you for even more and for training and for guidance in the same. So maybe you can give us in the next 1 minute, maybe you can give us your closing statement.
Thank you. What I want to say that success is not by chance. It is intentional. Have a compelling vision, formulate a good strategy, and execute it. Have a vision. Begin with the end in mind. Those are the words of Stephen Covey from his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Success has a starting point, a vision. Craft a good vision. So where to get me? You can get me on social media. I am Wahiga Gichinga in most of those. Yeah, Alice Wahiga Gichinga. Alice is also my name. On LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Yeah, if you want to talk to me, I'm on email, wahigagishinga@yahoo.com. Also at gmail.com, you get to reach to me. And just something else, I told you that I'm a feeler. Yes, I am a feeler. And I have crafted a book that I'm just about to release out there on how to work on yourself through feeling, through reflections, so that you can improve your capacities and be a better person and be excellent in your role in your world. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here, and over back to you, to Douglas Ayeko.
Thank you so much, Wahiga Gichinga. That was a nice presentation from you. We've learned a lot, and the fact that you've used pictorials and live examples to explain the real life scenarios, that was a good one. Now, from us, Springboard Capital, just to let you know that this is a microfinance company that has transformed lives by offering financial services to individuals and businesses for the past decade. Yes, we've been in existence for over 10 years now and still counting. If you need money, we are here to offer the lending hand. You can find us at a town near you. Reach out to us for any preferred social media platforms with the name Springboard Capital Limited. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you in the next month, the last Friday of that month, and have a restful afternoon and a good weekend ahead. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being part of this great presentation. God bless.